morning. This is Judy Melton, the Registrar for Bakke Graduate University, and this is an instructional video to explain some of the unique properties of Populi, our student LMS and database system. So this is primarily for our professors and for staff, so it is going to be a little bit more casual than my orientation for students. For those professors who are new and haven't seen that video, just let me know. I can give you the link for that, no problem. So I wanted to start off with assuming that you haven't gotten into Populi yet, or you're still kind of new to it. And I have to apologize, I'm not sure exactly what all the staff members and the professors see, because I see everything. And so if you don't see something that I've got on my screen, it's just because you don't have those permissions. So let's begin with what your profile is. So you see up here on the top, let's just start off, there's college management, calendar, financial, and library. You may not have the financial, but you probably do have the library. So let's go into your profile. So if I click on my profile, it brings up the information about me. Most people start off with the activity feed. It defaults to activity feed, and this will just be notes about you or emails that you have sent or emails that you have received. And this, of course, shows all my roles, and yours will just be checked for the roles that you have. Bulletin board information is just all of your personal information. So I'm also going to look at your faculty tab. Now this is where I wanted to go to let you know which courses that you have access to looking at and working in. So it's important for you to look at this drop down to bring up the different sessions that you have taught in. And so if you click on something that's back in 2011 or something like that, you can go there and see the courses that you've taught, and you can still have access to them. So just wanted to show you that. That's my student file. You don't get to see that. And admissions and financial, let's actually go to my fake student. So to find a student or information, you can click on this search tab up in the upper right hand corner. So if you click on that and then just begin to type. So I'm going to do Sally Sample, and you'll see if I just type a few letters, it'll bring up the person that I'm looking for. So if I click on that, Sally Sample is just my made-up person to be able to demonstrate some of the things about Populi that are unique to BGU. So here's her activity feed where she's received emails and just notes about her information. If you look at her information tab, you see I made up an email, and Populi, it's actually kind of a nice feature, is if you send an email to somebody and it's a bad email address, it'll actually cross it off. So it shows that was not a good email address, so you need to find a better one. Down here we have other information about the person, and we have added some special fields. And so I wanted to show you those because I think a lot of our staff and faculty may not know this. So if I say add right here on other information, and I look down, so you've got hometown, license plate. We don't use those things very much, but there's a choose custom field. So if you click on this, it gives you a drop-down box that you can add an occupation, a passport number, or Skype. And a lot of people communicate with Skype, so it's handy to have this. So if you find a Skype address for somebody, please go in and add it by going here and clicking on Skype and then typing in their Skype address. And then you can either save or X if you've made a mistake and didn't want to get in there anyway. The other special one is the denomination, and you'll notice that hers is already listed here. Social Security number, it's only going to show the last 4 digits. It shows their ages and that kind of thing. So if I go to student, their student tab is where you see all of the classes that they've taken and the grades that they've gotten. And you can easily just go to that class by clicking on the title of it, and it'll take you to that class, depending on the privileges that you have. The other area that I wanted to bring your attention to is this area over here. It's called Student Information, and normally it only lists a few things. But I've added some extra information here so that you can see at a very quick glance where this student stands in terms of their progress up to graduation. This is helpful to us to quickly see, okay, the date that they were accepted into the school is right here. The date that they first started taking classes, their first term. This is where the academic dean can approve that they're ready for graduation. This is where the chief financial officer, or Carolyn Cochran, would be able to say, okay, this person has kept up with their finances, all their payments and that kind of thing. They can go ahead and graduate. And this is where I approve them for graduation, meaning that they have completed all their coursework except maybe their final project, because we do this ahead of time so that the board of directors can approve them. That's the last official step to approve them for graduation. This also gives you an opportunity to see who their final project supervisor is. So here's Dr. What's his name, who the second reader is, who the oral review BGU rep is. So the OR stands for oral review. And so the oral review has to have a final project supervisor, a second reader, and a BGU rep in on the call. This one shows whether the oral review has either taken place or is going to take place in the future. So I put the date here when the oral review is scheduled. If you want to add something, say for example, academic dean wanted to give his approval for graduation, they can just click edit, and this brings up the whole list of places where these blanks would be. So if the second reader is changed, or we find out one of the BGU reps who's going to be, we'll put Brad as the BGU rep. Okay, and then we can save that, and then automatically changes that. So anyway, I thought that was, this is a really good way to give us some information that Populi would not necessarily have given us. When I first get a person into the program, they have to be put into a program. So here's where I would add a program. I just click on that and designate whether they're a master's certificate or a doctorate, and then I say save, and there you see master's came up. Now I need to add a degree, so I add a degree, and there's a drop down box, and I can pick one of the degrees and say save. And that shows where their person has, their status is pursuing as of the date that I recorded this. But usually that's the date that they're admitted by the academic cabinet. However, sometimes students will take a class when they're still in the application process. So that's why it's important to have when they were accepted by the academic cabinet and the first term. You can see that this person was accepted in 2003 and their first term was in 2004. But sometimes that's reversed if they decide to take a class before they're officially admitted. They're able to take 2 classes before they are officially admitted. Now you'll see over here it says there are 2 classes that are not mapped to a program. So what I have to do is I go to the course mapping here, and if I click on that, it shows the classes that they've taken, and it shows that I've just put her into the master's program, so that's why it doesn't show that any of these classes apply. If I click this applied button, or these 2 applied buttons, and say save, now when I go to their degree audit, it will show that these apply to the master's program. Now you'll notice that it says unused courses. I cannot get Populi to change this to electives, but basically instead of unused it should say, according to BGU, that this is an elective towards their program. So now I'm going to register her for a class. Normally a student, when they go into their program, they don't see all this. They do see the registration tab, however. So now that she's in a program, if I click registration and I go down, I can enroll her in a class. But I think first I'm going to, just for confidentiality's sake, because I don't want this to be on YouTube and showing other people's grades, I'm going to show you how I set up a class. So if I go into academics, you'll see that it comes up with programs, degrees. I've set up all this. I don't know whether you can see all that or not. Doesn't matter. what you're going to want to do is you can go to courses, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to semesters that are way in the past. I'm going to create a class. So I go over here and say add course, and I'm going to choose a department. So I'm going to do the Magul because that's the degree I put her in, and I'm going to choose a course. Now I think I want to choose something that's already going on. So I'll create a history class, okay? And so then down here I add course instance. So then what I have to do, I've created a class in this term, in this 2004, and I need to write that down so I know where to go. So 2004-05 second trimester, and that was our old language in GradPro, our old system. So what I'm going to do is, first I'm going to copy stuff. So I go into the class. So I've just created this class, but I want to clone it from the history class that's going on right now. So I click on this clone from another class, and I want to click all of these things: assignments, assignment groups, discussions, files, links, all that kind of stuff. And then I have to click. I understand that by cloning these I'm erasing anything that I've already put in there. I don't care because I haven't put anything in there. So I'm going to save it, and now you'll see what popped up were the required books, the optional books, the syllabi, and all this other stuff that comes with the class. What it's also copied, if I go to the assignments page, it copied all of the assignments. So this is all the assignments that are due for this class. Then if I go to lessons, it's also copied all of the lessons that have been created for this class from another term. The discussions, it also, and obviously there will be nobody in the roster because nobody's registered. So let's go back to Sally Sample. So I do the search. It defaults to Sally Sample, which is a nice thing that they have in Populi. So if Sally Sample decides, I'm going to take the history class, she clicks on the registration button, and then I have to make sure that I've put, but all she would have to do is click on enroll, and you see how it pops up to there, and then she has to say save, but we don't want to save her into that class. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to academics, go back to courses, click on that, and then I want to go down to the 2004-05 second trimester. I'm going to go back to my little history class. Now I, as registrar, can go into the roster, and I can actually put her in by clicking add students. I can add students by name. So I'm going to add Sally Sample. So there she is, pops up. I click on her and I say save. And now there she is. She's in the class. So what I want to show you is in this screen, in the roster screen, when someone has turned in a paper or needs an extension, what I do is, see over here this little pencil? I click on that and it brings up her status. So either she's enrolled, an auditor, leave of absence, or withdrawn. I can change that. Or where it says incomplete, I can say custom, and this brings me the option to add an extension or a waiting grade. So this is helpful for all of us on staff to be able to go, okay, I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to go back to Sally Sample, and this is very easy. All you do is click on their name, and Populi added this new step where it shows you her progress through the class. Right now there's no progress, so there's nothing there. I click on this again to bring me back to Sally Sample's page, her student page. And so somebody who's saying, I wonder what Sally Sample, how she's coming in her classes, and I click on the student tab, and you'll see the history class, it says AG. So that's the cue to staff to know that she's turned in her paper and she just doesn't have a grade yet. For you as the professor, when you go in, and let's go back to the history class, and let's say you've given her a grade. So let's go into the grade book for Sally Sample. There are other ways of doing grades. This is, to me, the easiest way to do the grades. I just click on Edit Grades, and as the professor, you would be able to do this. So let's give her grades. Okay, so once you have all your grades in, you'll see that it's calculated the percentage for the final grade. You click on Save Grades over here on the left. You'll remember that I changed her status in the class to awaiting grade. If I tried to finalize this course, her grade would not show until we changed this. You've got to change this. So you go in as the professor to the Manage, Edit, change this custom to incomplete no, and then save it. And now you can finalize the grade. So you just go back to the grade book and click Finalize Course, and click Finalize Course and Submit. Before I do that though, let's go back to the roster. I want to show you something else. If she had asked for an extension, I go into this little box right here that says Notes. So if I click on that, what I would do, if she had an extension, and then I say Save. So a lot of my professors have been asking me, well, how do I know that they have an extension? Well, right here I would have said Custom, Extension, Save. So you would be seeing over here in Status, Extension, and you could see that there's little lines in the notes, so you can click on that and see, oh, she was granted a 1-month extension. Well, that 1-month extension is already passed. And so you might want to drop her a note and say, I noticed that you had a 1-month extension. It's now past that time. Sometimes I'll see it and I'll send her a note or something to say, you know, we've been waiting for your paper and I see that you only had a 1-month extension. Do you need longer? And we'll go ahead and communicate that with the student. Just an aside, Academic Affairs Committee a couple of months ago, well, it's been about a year ago, but some of you may not be aware that a student is allowed to have a 1-month extension without it affecting their grade. But if they have a 2-month extension, they get a 1/2 of a grade decrease. It's in the catalog. Anyway, I think it's a 3-month extension. They get they get a full 1 grade drop, unless it's for medical excuses. So anyway, just want to let you know that. Look at the catalog. There are new things in the catalog. So let's manage Sally. She's enrolled. Let's change this to no, it's not incomplete. We're going to save it. And then we're going to go in. And if we went into her without finalizing, if we go in to her account, you will see that she still can't see her grade until you finalize. Here's Sally. We go to our student tab and you see it still says IP for in process. That's because I have not finalized her grade yet. So we go back in, go to the, say, finalized course, and you click the finalized course, automatically clicks on her, and you submit. Now you can finalize one student at a time. Say 2 people have turned in their work and another person hasn't. But you don't want to finalize the whole course. You just want to finalize those students who have finished their work. So you can click finalize next to their name, but not for the whole course, and click save. And that way that student will now be able to, let's go back to Sally, and you'll see on her student tab that she has an A. Let's say this is your class and you go into your discussions. You do have the option. So if you click on the information tab in a class, you can add books, required books, take some of these books off, and then add files. You can also add links to your class. If there were, you know, something on the internet that you wanted them to see, you could add that here. But in order to do that, you have to be the faculty. So I realized that I didn't add a faculty member. I was just operating as the registrar. So let me add myself as the professor, and I save it. Now, if I went into the lessons and meet your faculty team, I think this is still going to be for the other, yeah, Dr. Boyson is teaching this, so this has her information, so the e-learning team sets that up. So it would be me if I was actually teaching this class, or you if you were teaching it. Introduction and general course information. And most of these classes should be approximately the same. It's just easier for our students to have everything looking the same so they know where to find things, and that's very helpful. So if you click the Discussions tab, you'll find the weekly discussions. And it's very important, the professor for the class, that you are reading and responding to the student posts at a minimum once a week. We would like it to be more often, but we don't want to have our students not getting any information or feedback from you in your class. So be sure that you're looking at discussions. There's no discussions here, obviously, but when you do, when a student posts information or a comment, you want to be sure that you're at least giving them some feedback on their class. And I think that the reason that this is not open is because I've finalized the course. So anyway, up here on the top row, you'll see this word library, and if you click on it, it gives you some of the resources. If you click the resource types, there's articles, books, collections, and newspapers. So if you click on Browse Resources, you can see some of the books that have been scanned and are in the library. So under Subjects, I see under D, it has Dissertation. 393 resources. So here are the BGU dissertations and final projects of alumni, and this can be a really good source of information. Some of these dissertations are excellent for a source for your class, and the students can just click on it and pull up that dissertation. So if you have any other questions, just let me know, and hopefully I can help you. Blessings.